I glanced at my phone during a Monday morning meeting and felt my stomach drop. The text from my wife Amanda read, "This is not working anymore. I am divorcing you next week." 8 years of marriage reduced to a cold message while I discussed quarterly projections. Strangely, I felt calm. The distance between us, her password changes, the secretive phone calls at night, had been warning signs I had ignored for months. I typed back 6 words that changed everything. I filed first. Papers are being served. When you are watching this story about how one shocking text message actually saved my financial future, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments where you are watching from. I am a 35-year-old software engineer working for a major tech company in Seattle. The day I met Amanda still plays in my memory, like a perfect movie scene. It was at my college friend Tom's wedding 10 years ago. She was a bridesmaid, tall, with auburn hair, and a laugh that made everyone turn to look. I was immediately drawn to her confidence and the way she commanded attention without seeming to try. "Cash Donovan." I introduced myself, extending my hand at the reception. "Amanda Pierce," she replied with a smile that reached her bright green eyes. "Cash, that is certainly a unique name. Family tradition. All the men in my family have financial names. My father is Sterling, my grandfather was Grant." We talked until the venue staff began cleaning up. Our connection was instant and deep. We discovered shared dreams of traveling the world, similar taste in obscure indie films, and the same dry sense of humor that had often made us feel like outsiders. Our romance progressed quickly. Within 6 months, we were living together in my downtown apartment. Amanda worked as a marketing executive for a luxury goods company, and her eye for beauty transformed my bachelor pad into a stylish home. I loved her ambition and creativity, the way she could turn ordinary moments into adventures. When I brought Amanda home to meet my parents for Thanksgiving, my father pulled me aside after dinner. "She seems lovely, Cash, but there is something about her that concerns me," he said quietly while we stood in his study. "What do you mean?" "The way she talked about the neighbor's new boat, her fixation on your cousin Sarah's engagement ring size. She seems very focused on material things." I dismissed his concerns as old-fashioned thinking. "Dad, she works in luxury marketing. She appreciates quality, that is all." My father nodded slowly. "Just be careful. The Donovan family business has attracted people with ulterior motives before." What my father was referencing was our family's moderately successful chain of regional banks that had been operating for 3 generations. While we were not ultra-wealthy, we were certainly comfortable, and I had trust funds and company shares that would mature when I turned 40. When I proposed a year later, my father insisted on a prenuptial agreement. This led to our first serious fights as a couple. Amanda was deeply hurt by the suggestion. "Do you not trust me? Do you think I am marrying you for money?" she asked through tears one night. "Of course I trust you. This is just what my family does. It protects both of us." After weeks of discussion and several drafts with lawyers, Amanda finally agreed, but only after modifications that seemed reasonable at the time. The prenup had time-dependent clauses that would gradually increase her share of assets the longer we remained married. Our wedding was beautiful but not extravagant. We bought a modest house in a good neighborhood, and the early years of marriage were everything I had hoped for. We both advanced in our careers, took amazing vacations, and talked about starting a family soon while enjoying our freedom. The changes began gradually around year 5. Amanda started spending more time with new friends from work, women married to executives and entrepreneurs. She became increasingly focused on appearances and social media presence. Our house, which I had once thought perfect, was suddenly too small and in the wrong area. Her shopping habits changed from occasional splurges to regular deliveries of designer items. When I suggested creating a budget one evening, Amanda rolled her eyes. "We make plenty of money, Cash. Why are you being so cheap? That is not attractive. It is not about being cheap. It is about planning for our future, maybe for kids." "Kids are not in my 5-year plan right now," she replied dismissively, focusing on her phone instead of continuing the conversation. Communication began breaking down. Amanda spent more weekends away on girls' trips that seemed to involve expensive resorts and nightclubs based on her Instagram posts. When she was home, she was distracted, always texting and stepping outside for phone calls. I tried to rekindle our connection with date nights and thoughtful gestures, but Amanda seemed increasingly bored with our routine. One night, while paying bills, I discovered a credit card statement for an account I did not know existed with a $20,000 balance. "It is just for emergencies and work expenses," Amanda explained when confronted. Everyone has separate accounts these days. Marriage does not mean we cannot have financial independence. A dinner with her new friends and their husbands left me feeling distinctly out of place. Despite my good job, I was clearly not in their league of wealth. Amanda seemed embarrassed by my normal sedan parked among their luxury vehicles. During dinner, she interrupted me several times when I was speaking and laughed a little too hard at the other men's jokes. On the drive home, when I mentioned feeling disrespected, she accused me of being insecure and jealous of successful people. "Maybe if you were more ambitious, you would fit in better," she said, staring out the window. The late nights at work events became more frequent. Our intimacy dwindled to occasional perfunctory encounters that left me feeling more alone than satisfied. Amanda started keeping her phone face down and taking it with her even to the bathroom. I told myself I was imagining problems, that every marriage goes through phases. I was wrong. Last spring, I had to attend a 3-day technology conference in Austin. On the second evening during the networking cocktail hour, my colleague Ryan approached me with an uncomfortable expression. "Cash, I do not want to cause problems, but I thought you should know something." My stomach tightened as he continued. "I saw Amanda last weekend at Noir Lounge with a man. They seemed very close. It could have been a client meeting, but it was 11 at night and they were in a corner booth." I immediately defended her. "She has lots of work dinners. Marketing involves client entertainment." Ryan nodded unconvincingly. "Of course, just thought I should mention it." I could not focus on the remainder of the conference. I decided to fly home a day early without telling Amanda. When I arrived, the house was empty and spotless. Nothing seemed out of place or suspicious. Amanda returned from working late and seemed genuinely surprised to see me, but not particularly guilty or nervous. Still, something felt off. I noticed she had changed her phone password. When I asked about it casually, she said, "Oh, work security protocols. We have to change passwords monthly now." The next week, while doing laundry, I found a receipt in her jacket pocket for a $500 men's wallet. My birthday had passed months ago, and I had never received such a gift. When I checked our shared cloud photo storage for recent pictures, I discovered several had been moved to a private folder I could not access. One night when Amanda was showering, a text notification lit up her phone on the coffee table. It was from her friend Tiffany. Did he suspect anything about the upgrade plans? My hands shook as I put the phone down. I told myself upgrade plans could mean anything, home renovations perhaps. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. I reached out to my friend Jake, who worked as a financial advisor. Over beers at a quiet bar far from our usual spots, I confided my suspicions. "Cash, I hate to say this, but you need to protect yourself now," Jake said grimly. "If she is planning what I think she is, she will try to take you for everything she can get." "We have a prenup," I reminded him. "Prenups get contested all the time. Document everything, talk to a lawyer, and secure your assets discreetly." The next day, I took a sick day and consulted with a divorce attorney recommended by Jake. The lawyer, Miss Winters, listened carefully to my situation. "Your prenuptial agreement sounds solid, but we should review it thoroughly. In the meantime, start gathering evidence and securing your finances without making any dramatic moves that could be seen as financial abandonment." That night, using Amanda's laptop to check movie times, my own excuse to snoop, I noticed her search history included phrases like "how to get around prenup" and "proving financial abandonment." My blood ran cold. Over the next few weeks, I became a detective in my own marriage. I discovered Amanda had been seeing Brian Westfield, a wealthy real estate developer she had met through her new social circle. Their affair had been going on for at least 4 months based on the hotel receipts and restaurant charges I found. Text messages I recovered showed they had discussed their future together, with Brian promising to set her up properly after she got free. I learned Amanda had been methodically gathering information about my family's assets, specifically the shares I would inherit. She had photographed financial documents in my home office and researched the value of the Donovan banking business. Following my lawyer's advice, I began preparing strategically. I opened new personal accounts at a bank my family did not own. I secured all important documents from birth certificates to investment statements in a safe deposit box. I cataloged our assets and documented the current state of our finances. I recorded conversations where Amanda mentioned future plans that conspicuously did not include me. The hardest part was maintaining normalcy while living with someone plotting against me. Each morning I kissed her goodbye, knowing she was counting down to her exit. Each night I slept beside her, wondering if she was texting him while I dreamed. The betrayal burned in my chest constantly. 7 weeks after my discoveries began, with all my preparations in place, I quietly filed for divorce on the grounds of adultery. The papers would be served to Amanda the following week. Then, exactly 7 days after I filed, while sitting in a strategy meeting at work, my phone buzzed with her message. "This is not working anymore. I am divorcing you next week." The shock of actually seeing those words, despite having anticipated something like this, still hit me like a physical blow. For a moment I stared at the screen, reading and rereading her message. "This is not working anymore. I am divorcing you next week." My colleagues continued discussing quarterly targets around me, while my marriage officially ended via text message. I took a deep breath and typed my response. I filed first. Papers are being served. I added nothing else. No anger, no accusations, no emotion. Just facts. 3 dots appeared immediately as she started typing, then stopped, then started again. Finally, "What are you talking about?" I did not respond. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. I excused myself from the meeting and stepped into an empty conference room. "What do you mean you filed first?" Amanda demanded when I answered. Her voice had an edge of panic I had never heard before. "Exactly what I said," I replied calmly. "I filed for divorce last week. You should be receiving papers tomorrow." "But why? What is going on?" The confidence was draining from her voice with each word. "I know about Brian Westfield. I know about the hotels, the gifts, the plans you two made. I know you have been researching ways to challenge our prenup. I know everything, Amanda." Silence stretched for several seconds before she switched tactics. "Cash, you are making a huge mistake. Whatever you think you know, it is not what it seems. We can talk about this. We can fix things. There is nothing to fix. Your bags will be packed when you get home. You have until the weekend to arrange somewhere else to stay. You cannot just throw me out of my own house." Her voice had turned shrill. "It is my house. Check the deed. And the prenup you signed clearly states that in case of infidelity, the unfaithful party forfeits rights to the primary residence." Another long silence followed. "This is not over," she finally said, her voice cold. "Actually, it is. Oh, and Amanda, Brian Westfield is still married. His wife Charlotte is aware of everything now too." I ended the call and turned my phone off. When I got home that evening, I found Amanda frantically trying to access our joint investment accounts on her laptop. Her face was blotchy from crying, her hair disheveled. "What have you done?" she demanded when she saw me. "Everything is locked, protected," I corrected her. "As advised by my lawyer, you had no right, I had every right. Those accounts are primarily funded by my income and family investments. The small percentage that might be considered marital assets is documented and will be handled in the settlement." She switched to emotional manipulation, an approach that had worked on me in the past. "How can you do this to us? After everything we have built together, I made one mistake. 4 months of hotel meetings is not one mistake," I interrupted. "Planning to divorce me and take my family assets is not a mistake. It is a calculated betrayal." Her phone chimed with a text. I could see Brian's name on the screen. Amanda glanced at it nervously. "Is that your married boyfriend checking in?" I asked. "You might want to tell him that his plan failed. His wife is meeting with her lawyer tomorrow too." Amanda's face drained of color. "You told his wife I did not have to. She had already hired a private investigator. Apparently, you are not his first affair, just his most recent." What happened next was the most desperate I had ever seen Amanda. She alternated between crying, pleading, and threatening. She claimed Brian had manipulated her. She said she had never intended to go through with any plans they discussed. She tried to remind me of our good times, the love we once shared. When none of that worked, she turned vicious, threatening to ruin my reputation and drag the divorce out for years. I remained calm, which only fueled her anger. The next day, we both met with our respective lawyers. Amanda had hired Gregory Palmer, an aggressive divorce attorney known for helping clients secure substantial settlements. He came in with swagger, clearly expecting to intimidate my lawyer and me. That confidence began to waver as Miss Winters methodically presented our evidence, photos, receipts, text messages, and most damaging recordings of Amanda discussing her plans to contest the prenup. As you can see, Miss Winters concluded we have substantial evidence of infidelity, which triggers Clause 12 of the prenuptial agreement. Additionally, we have documentation of attempts to hide assets and defraud Mr. Donovan, which triggers Clause 16. Palmer requested a brief recess to confer with Amanda. Through the glass wall of the conference room, I could see their heated discussion. Amanda was gesturing wildly while Palmer repeatedly shook his head. When they returned, Palmer's demeanor had changed completely. "We would like to propose a more amicable approach to this dissolution," he began, his earlier aggression replaced with conciliatory tones. That evening, Amanda tried one more angle. She called Brian while I was in the room, putting him on speaker without warning him I could hear. "The prenup is stronger than we thought," she said immediately. "He has evidence of everything." "What kind of evidence?" Brian asked, sounding annoyed rather than concerned. "Everything. The hotels. Our messages. Your promises." "So what?" "Just deny it all. Your word against his. His lawyer has recordings, Brian, and they know about Charlotte's private investigator." The line went silent for a moment. "I have to go," Brian finally said. "Wait, what should I do? You said you would take care of me." "Look, Amanda, it was fun, but I am not getting dragged into your divorce mess. Figure it out yourself." The call ended. Amanda stared at her phone in shock, then at me with dawning horror as she realized her entire plan had collapsed. Both her husband and her lover had outmaneuvered her. Exactly 48 hours after Amanda's initial divorce text, her lawyer called mine. Miss Winters put the call on speaker for me to hear. "My client is willing to accept the terms of the prenuptial agreement without contest," Palmer said, his voice tense. "However, we request 60 days for Miss Pierce to secure new housing and transportation. Mr. Donovan is prepared to be reasonable about the transition," Miss Winters replied. 30 days for housing, and Miss Pierce can keep her current vehicle, which was a gift from Mr. Donovan. After more negotiation, we reached terms that adhered to the prenup but allowed Amanda some dignity in the transition. When Miss Winters ended the call, she turned to me with a small smile. "Well, Mr. Donovan, it appears your foresight has saved you considerable heartache and financial damage." I felt no triumph, only sadness for what could have been and relief that it was nearly over. 3 months later, I sat across from Amanda and both our lawyers as we signed the final divorce settlement. The prenuptial agreement had indeed proven ironclad. Amanda received exactly what the agreement specified for an 8-year marriage ended by infidelity, a modest cash settlement representing 5% of our marital assets. As she signed the last document, Amanda looked up at me with tears in her eyes. "I really did love you, you know." In the beginning, I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Despite everything, part of me still cared for the woman I thought she had been. "Why did you not just confront me when you first suspected something?" she asked. "Would you have told me the truth?" She looked down at her hands. "Probably not. That is why." As we stood to leave, Amanda made one final attempt. "Cash, I made a terrible mistake. Brian used me. He never intended to leave his wife. I see that now. We could try again, rebuild what we had." I looked at her, really looked at her, seeing both the woman I had fallen in love with and the stranger she had become. "Goodbye, Amanda. I wish you well." Walking out of that office, I felt a weight lift. The divorce had cost me financially, but far less than if I had not discovered her plans. More importantly, it had not cost me my self-respect. The following months were a time of healing and rebuilding. I sold our house, unable to live with the memories it contained. I moved into a downtown apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and no trace of Amanda's decorating style. I started therapy, working through the betrayal and learning to trust my instincts again. I reconnected with friends I had lost touch with during my marriage. My colleague Ryan, who had warned me about seeing Amanda with Brian, became a regular hiking partner. We tackled challenging trails on weekends, the physical exertion helping clear my mind. My family provided unwavering support. My father, to his credit, never once said "I told you so." Instead, he invited me to take a more active role in the family business, which gave me a sense of purpose during the darkest days. Exactly 1 year after our divorce was finalized, I ran into Amanda at a coffee shop downtown. She looked thinner, her designer clothes replaced by more modest attire. She was working at a smaller marketing firm, now having lost her executive position during a company restructuring. "How are you?" I asked politely as we waited for our orders. "Managing," she replied. "And you look good." "I am doing well." An awkward silence fell between us. "Cash," she finally said, "I owe you an apology. What I did was unforgivable. I got caught up in wanting more status, more luxury. Brian seemed to offer that, but it was all an illusion." I nodded, appreciating her honesty, but feeling no urge to reopen old wounds. "We all make mistakes, Amanda. Some bigger than others, she said with a sad smile. For what it is worth, I am sorry for all of it. As I walked away with my coffee, I realized I truly had forgiven her, not for her sake, but for mine. Carrying anger would only have weighed me down. The Donovan family business had thrived under new initiatives I had helped implement. My own investments, carefully managed after the divorce, had performed exceptionally well. At 36, I was more financially secure than ever before. More importantly, I had learned crucial lessons about relationships and self-worth. I now understood that love without respect and honesty is not love at all. I recognized the warning signs I had missed or ignored with Amanda. I valued direct communication over comfortable illusions. I began dating again, cautiously at first, then with growing confidence. I was more careful, yes, but not cynical. I still believed in connection and partnership, just with clearer eyes and stronger boundaries. The pain Amanda caused ultimately led to growth I might never have experienced otherwise. Her betrayal forced me to stand up for myself, to value my own well-being above keeping peace at any cost. The divorce she had planned as my downfall became instead the foundation for a stronger, more authentic life. If you have ever had that gut feeling something was wrong in your relationship but talked yourself out of trusting your instincts, I hope my story encourages you to listen to that inner voice. Have you ever ignored red flags because confronting them seemed too painful? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if this story helped you in any way, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life lessons that might just save you from making the same mistakes. Thank you for listening, and remember that sometimes what feels like an ending is actually the beginning of a much better chapter.